You're listening to a Soul One podcast.
All right. Couple things came up during our pre-show talk. So I kind of want to ask you some Fear Street related questions, Taylor, before you review your movie.
I'll answer them to the best of my ability, which is slim to none.
But you've
Even
watched all
though,
the Fear Streets,
yeah,
haven't you?
I have, and I completely don't remember them. So clearly they made quite the impression on me. It's so funny. Dan always asked me what movie I watch. Just because he's a good supportive husband. I don't think he actually cares, but he feigns interest in the movies I watch during nap time. And I'm describing this movie to him, and he's like, well, at least the Fear Street ones, or he didn't know that I was describing a Fear Street movie, and he's like, I liked that Fear Street movie we watched. I said, oh, this is part of the universe. And he was like, what? And then I tried to stumble through explaining the universe, but I don't actually really understand or know the universe. So
Okay.
Anyways, so with that little bit of background, Mike, go ahead and ask your questions. We'll see if I can answer them.
So it's a universe, but I thought, or was under the impression, that the Fear Streets they did before took place at different times, but all kind of connected somehow.
Correct.
There was like a through line connection. Okay. So Fear Street Prom Night, which I believe is set in the 80s.
Correct.
Is it also connected to the same thing or group of people?
Yeah, so this is where I don't 100% remember why. So essentially, let's backtrack. Fear Street is the quote unquote teenage R.L. Stine books. So he wrote Goosebumps, which were for more like elementary school kids. Fear Street was his version of, I would say, I don't want to say teens, but definitely like later than elementary school, kind of that like middle schooler to early high school aged group. So they were scarier and more.
Whoa, wait a minute. Back up here. R.L. Stine wrote these?
Yeah.
I had, like, you just dropped a bombshell.
There you go. So
I had no idea. That's a well-known thing?
I think so. It's like it's a literary universe / movie universe now. It's based on the R.L. Stine books. I believe his daughter, one of the Steins, is helping to produce.
This is wild to me. I had no idea.
So these stories, if people our age, Mike, grew up with Goosebumps, which were horror stories written by R.L. Stine, and they made it into a TV show in the 90s, and it was like light horror fare for the elementary school crowd. So Fear Street is supposed to be a little bit more mature, but definitely not adult. And it's my understanding, Mike, I don't know anything about the books. I actually never read any of the Goosebumps books or the Fear Street books, but so the movies, which I believe are adaptations of the books, or I don't know how faithful they are, but they've adapted the storyline. So the first set of movies takes place in what's called Shady Town, like this town called Shady Town. And it's very literal, and the town is cursed, and it's kind of socioeconomically depressed, and there's all these weird crimes, and essentially, like, if you grow up in Shady Town, you're not going to amount to anything because the town is cursed. And so over the course of the first 3 movies, I think it's like 1990 or maybe like 1994, 1978, and like 1666, maybe
something like that, right?
Yeah, or I could have that order wrong, but essentially you find out why the town is cursed and how it's connected to a particular family, whatever. So I don't actually remember why the town is cursed. I think it has to do with a witch. But I could be wrong. Like, I think the witch was wrongfully accused type of situation. And there's also a town like across the train tracks, so to speak, which is like well off. I think they are connected to this curse. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Mike, I think the rich people in this town, in the other town, blamed the witch cursed them, but essentially they're the real villains. You know where I'm going with this? Like, I don't think the witch is actually bad. Anyways,
Okay.
So Dan said to me, well, didn't they tie up why the town was cursed in the first 3 movies? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. Like, I think the trilogy is like the self-contained lore, and this is like a spin-off movie. So he's like, so let me get this straight. This movie is happening kind of in the middle of the chronology of the other 3 movies. I'm like, I think so, if memory serves. So this movie happens, Mike, at a time where, so the first Fear Street movie happens in the 90s. We go back in time to the 70s, and then I think we go back to the present time, but also do a flashback to the Puritan times in the original story. So this takes place in the 80s. So we don't know technically why the town is cursed yet. Like, this is what would you call this? A standalone or like a spin-off. Like, you don't need to know any of the Fear Street lore in order to watch this movie.
Okay.
But it is like, there is like, they refer to the town being cursed, and you find out why and how and whatever in the original trilogy. Does that answer your question?
It does. I guess, I don't know, I had it in my head for some reason that there was some kind of other connection between like the people or the family, or specifically not just the town, but I think I might be just inserting like it into my brain,
Tropes.
like the movie,
Just like
yeah, like
classic horror
like,
tropes.
yeah, like, oh, it's, as opposed to this being kind of obviously its own thing. But it's interesting that the way you're describing it, like, it kind of does sound like the town dairy in the It book,
Yeah,
and
like
movies, right? Like,
and it's very much like Nightmare on Elm Street, right? The
mm-hmm.
original, like, the town creates the monster, which then haunts their children. So it's like, it's a pretty classic horror tropes. Interestingly, and I don't know if we're gonna get right into our reviews, Mike, so I could be wrong, but the rating for this movie flashed across my screen, and I'm pretty sure it was rated R. And I thought, who is this movie made for? Because, like, you're watching, it definitely feels like a teen movie. Like, it feels pretty cheesy, pretty corny. I will say the violence is pretty graphic, so that must be how they got the rated R rating. But it just goes back to the question we had a couple weeks ago, where the person was asking, do we pay attention to ratings? I don't think I ever really paid attention to ratings until she brought that up, and also until I had a toddler and realized that I'm showing him PG movies. Did we talk about this, Mike, how the Mighty Ducks is PG?
Yeah, we talked about this. That was,
Yeah.
you started to have these discoveries about what
I'm
kid
showing
movies are ratings.
Yeah, I'm showing my child who's not developmentally prepared the Mighty Ducks. In the first 20 minutes of the Mighty Ducks, there's like a huge swear word. And I'm like,
is there?
I don't remember this.
I don't remember that at
whatsoever.
all.
It's not like the worst swear word in the world, but like, definitely it's a swear, and I don't want my 2-year-old to hear it.
You are talking about the original Mighty Ducks,
yeah,
right? Like,
the original Mighty Ducks. There's a
Okay.
swear word in the first 20 minutes.
I'm just shocked. I don't remember that at all.
One of the kids calls the coach, Bombay, Jordan Bombay. He calls Jordan Bombay a swear word, and it's like, oh, okay.
I think it's Gordon Bombay, but that's fine.
Sorry,
not Jordan, but that's all right.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But yeah, so I was like, okay, but you know what it is, Mike? I did own the Mighty Ducks on VHS, although through a very twisty, turny story. It's not actually that long, but my mom did away with some of my VHSs and gave them to someone else. Mighty Ducks being one of these movies. So, But a lot of these movies I would have watched on cable, and they would have edited out the swears. That's probably why we don't remember the swears. We watched
That
the
is
edited
true.
versions.
That's true.
You think?
Anytime if it was taped, if you had it say taped off TV, which I know we did for movies a lot, just like recorded it off the television, it would be edited down, and it would
Yeah.
have quite a few things, I'd say, changed within it, including the language. So yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm like, oh, these movies are PG, but it's because I watched like the G-rated
Mm-hmm.
version on the Disney
Mm-hmm.
Channel. But what was the other question? Oh, isn't it shocking to you? And maybe there is a way to do this, and I haven't figured it out. You'd think that Disney would give parents the option to watch the TV edited versions of these movies.
Oh, I
Is
you
that
know what
is there something? Can you
I
do that?
never, not that I know of, but I never thought of that. I mean, that would be
How
because
smart!
some of the Disney movies, because DVDs are kind of not being utilized by a lot of people a lot. Some of the movies there are like alternate versions, like, oh, you can watch the theatrical version, or you can watch this special cut, or you can watch this. Like, you do have some of those
I want to
options.
watch the TV version. You don't
I've
even
never,
need to
yeah.
edit out the length, but like it's weird to me that Disney being like the family streaming option
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't provide a no swear or like no raunchy. Cause like when you watch, like you alluded to it, Mike, they used to cut it down to fit a certain time slot, but they could cut
That's
out
right.
like risque jokes and stuff.
Sure.
Think that Disney, call me up. Why haven't you thought of that yet? Or maybe you
That
have, and I just don't know how to do it on my
that's
TV.
like that's the thing. Like, I've never heard of that, so I don't think it's possible. But maybe it is. Like, maybe they do have that
Because they
option.
must own those versions somewhere, like where all of the swears are bleeped out, or that. I always wondered that as a kid. Did they? Mike, you might know this answer, and now we're on a complete and utter tangent, but these are the things I think about because I have a 2-year-old. So the movie we would watch as a kid, like say Mighty Ducks, whatever, Home Alone, whatever, and it's like pretty obvious that they've bleeped out or they've like changed the word. Did
Mhm.
they in the editing room like make a second copy for TV, or did the TV stations mock up the movie? Like who, because those that version must exist somewhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, that would be the responsibility of the distributor.
Okay.
So in theory, depending upon the situation, the creative team or the company behind distributing the movie would have say on what happens and would be providing that cut to the TV stations.
So yeah, give me the TV station version of the Mighty Ducks.
I would
So
think if one company would be able to do it, it would be Disney, because with their platform, and with obviously targeting families, you think you would want some sort of like family safe option kind of thing
don't you?
for
I
those
think that's
movies.
a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, that's an innovative idea. You should pitch it to Disney and make millions, and then we'll never see you again, because you'll be.
Or I'll do this for the love of the game, Mike. It's not like you
That's
pay me
true.
now.
That's right. You'll be doing it for the love of
If anything, I'll be
the
able to
love of
do
the
it
art.
more.
Yeah, you could. That's true. You could do daily, daily episodes.
I'll buy us better equipment.
That's
I'll
right.
hire us an
That's right.
editor.
That's
Yeah,
right. If anything, this show becomes daily if either one of us strike gold.
exactly.
Your daily, you have me at skip it. That's no better way to lose your viewership, I think.
Is that true? Having daily podcasts, because some podcasts do twice a week, which I think is
Yeah,
insanity. But
yeah. I don't know many podcasts that do daily, but a couple times. Some sports ones do several times a week because of various updates and stuff. Once a week seems to be the model, but I will say back in our screening in Kingston days, whenever we would release a special episode on a special day, in addition to what we did, that one always did really well.
hmm,
And we had done that before, where it's like, oh, a special movie's coming out or something happened and we want to talk about it. We had released like extra episodes. Those always did well.
the little treat episodes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unlike these regular ones, which is more like eating your vegetables.
Forcing people to get their movie reviews. Okay, well that was my tangent about ratings. I could be completely wrong with Fear Street Prom Queen, but I'm pretty sure it said it was rated R, Mike. And I thought there's nothing in this movie There isn't even any like gratuitous sex scenes. I don't really remember any swears. Like
Is it
this movie
gory?
it's gore. The deaths are gory. That's the only
Maybe that's it then.
maybe. Like you see people get their hands chopped off and someone gets
Mm.
electrocuted and
Yeah,
yeah.
I would say that would do it.
Fair enough. I
I
guess
think so.
I would think it would have to have like hardcore sex
Yeah.
for it to be rated R. But what do I know?
Everyone seems to have their different, ideas of that though. Like everyone, there are some people like they don't care about certain things in movies and television, but then they care about certain other things, and sometimes it doesn't match. Like I'm kind of the same. Like gore and stuff, I'd be like, yeah, that's not really worth even a rating of anything.
No.
But then obviously like with swearing and stuff, it's like, yeah, you probably want to put a rating on there. But there are tons of people who would disagree with that.
Yeah, I
Who
guess
who,
you're
who
right.
would feel literally the opposite, where it's like, no, like the gore is swearing, whatever. My kids hear swearing all the time. I'm not care about swearing. Like,
Netflix gets so specific, and maybe that's just how ratings work now. But it was like whatever the rating was. I'm pretty sure it was R, but I could be wrong. It's like blah 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 blah. A teen drug use was like one of the things they flagged. Like, okay, fair enough. I guess. I can't. Can you remember? Maybe you didn't watch like Gossip Girl or anything or the OC, but like
I watched
when
the OC.
okay, the OC that definitely had like teen alcohol, drugs, and smoking.
Every
Would the
episode, yeah.
would it say? So would it say when the show? Because TV shows also used to be rated. I'm sure they still are. Would it say like, oh, caution, viewer discretion advised,
No, they just
teen
threw us
drug
right in there.
use?
No,
Yep,
they
they're like
tossed it right in there.
teen sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's the
There,
OC, baby.
the only time I remember there being warnings on any shows I watched when I was younger was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, because it was on YTV, but it was on late. It was on
Yeah.
like 8 or 9 o'clock. It was at kind of later, and so YTV kind of slipped into like after dark or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know. They had like a thing.
Grown up teens.
That's right, like the grown up team show. So like it would put up a warning,
Viewer
but
discretion advised.
yeah, but that's because YTV was like, just hours earlier they were like showing
SpongeBob.
Pokemon, right? Like, and SpongeBob, right? Like it wasn't they it was quite the tone shift.
Tonal shift.
So I think that's kind of why they did that. But yeah, I certainly don't remember on something like the OC. But that was on Fox, I think. Like
Yeah, and
that, at
all
least
the
where I remember
TV
watching it.
shows in that time slot, all the TV shows would be similar. Did you
Yeah.
have other Fear Street questions that I may or may not be able to answer for you?
Well, I guess I was going to ask follow-ups depending upon your answers, because I just wanted to know if the characters mattered, and you already answered one of my questions. Do I have to have watched the other three in a particular order to get and watch this one? But I guess you're saying you actually don't.
I don't think you have to watch this. I don't think you have to watch the first three to watch this movie. If my memory serves, if I'm remembering correctly, Mike, the main family in the first three, they're connected to the massacre that happened at the camp. The second movie is about a camp slasher. This movie, the girl is connected to a crime as well, but I don't think the families have anything to do with each other. And again, like the whole town is cursed. They're all doing weird and wacky, demented things.
Okay.
So I don't think it's tied directly to, yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, any other questions? That probably does it, right?
No, I mean that was more or less what I wanted to know. I mean, the R.L. Stine thing was a shock. I had no idea this was based on like anything. Like I thought they were just like, we're doing this thematic thing and we're just gonna make it work.
No.
So yeah,
You're really gonna give Netflix that much credit?
I mean, I was gonna, but I guess not anymore.
Not without the Stranger Things guys at the helm, or the guy who Flanagan or whatever, who does the midnight mass.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. No, okay. Well, there you go. That kind of explains that. Well, there you go. That's what you're reviewing today, Fear Street Prom Night. And I'm going to review a little movie called Mickey 17.
A little movie. I think it's
Mine.
pretty big. It's getting a lot of buzz.
Yeah, I mean, I would describe it as much more contained and smaller in scale than one might think. It's from the director Bong Joon-ho, who did
Mm-hmm.
Parasite.
Yeah.
It has. It's interesting. It was an interesting watch, but yeah, our one of our favorites, Robert Pattinson,
And he's
starring.
an interesting filmmaker. Parasite was very good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm dying to hear your take on this movie. I guess you're right. It is mostly if my understanding of the promotional tour is correct, it's really focused on Robert Pattinson's characters.
Yeah, like that's the
He's the
sort of
main
thing is
cast.
he is really the main cast. Like there are some others, but we really follow him. Um, and I would say specifically, um, his kind of playing of the two selves is kind of what you go to see this movie for.
Mike, is this 2025 the year of you watching people play multiple characters? Maybe because Sinners, Michael B. Jordan plays twins.
Hmm.
This movie, and I feel like you saw a third movie, but I saw a movie where the character plays twins this year. But did you? I think you might have seen a third movie that had
Yeah,
someone. Does that ring any bells?
it does. And I didn't even put
Make that connection.
two and two together. No, I didn't even put two and two together there.
How weird!
Yeah,
Filmmakers just don't have the budget for bigger casts. I guess they have to hire one person to play
well,
two
and in
characters.
this particular case, it's a copy, so that's sort of the idea.
He's a clone.
Yeah, he's a clone of himself, which is sort of the concept of the movie. And I think, yeah, I mean, it was Sinners was an interesting choice, to have Michael B. Jordan
Because they
play.
could have just been brothers. They didn't have to be
Well,
the same
why did
person.
they have to be twins? Yeah,
Right.
like that's not really talked about in the movie. Like there really isn't much to kind of really break down as to why they had to be twins. There's no like, oh, mistaken identity or whatever. Like they don't use it for anything. They literally, you're right. They could have just been brothers. But I guess I don't know. Well, yeah, I guess it's cheaper.
You only have to pay the actor once.
Yeah, I guess it's cheaper. And also, I think that particular director goes with the guy he likes. Like
Fair
he
enough.
knows he's going to get a good performance out of him. He doesn't want to take any risks. So that's that. So yeah, we can dive into our reviews. I can just keep going. Why don't I just go right into
Yeah.
Mickey 17 and then
Go
we'll
for it.
go back to Fear Street. So yeah, as we've talked about, like the premise is actually quite simple for what is a pretty complex sci-fi world that they spend time building in the movie. But basically, the idea is that Robert Pattinson plays kind of a just down on his luck, like typical person, like just like middle of the road, maybe bit lower class, and he needs a job, and jobs are becoming such a big issue on Earth that he and many others head out into space to find work, and basically he gets a job as what's called an expendable, which means you basically work until you die, and then they copy another version of you, transfer all your experiences and memories and thoughts that you do this daily download thing into, so it's up to date, into that new body, and you start all over again. And that's basically the premise of the
Do you
movie.
feel pain?
Yes. Oh yeah.
It sounds
Like,
like a horrible. I would never agree to this.
yeah, and the movie's called Mickey 17 because we're following the 17th incarnation of Mickey, which, yeah, he feels all the pain of all the death, and basically
And remembers it.
everything and remembers it. Yeah, and
That
starts
sounds
all
like
over
a
again.
horrible job.
Because the idea is it's essentially the same person in a new body. Like
Right.
the idea the movie tries to make is we are a sum of our experiences and memories. So if you transfer your experiences and memories into a new body, you're essentially the same person.
Right.
So that's kind
I
of what
just
it
wouldn't
goes
want to
through.
die over and over and over again. Like I know
No,
that.
that sounds very unpleasant.
Yeah.
Not interested. I once is enough as far as I'm concerned. I would be Mike 1, and then the movie would be over. So yeah, what was interesting is this is very much a dark comedy,
Mhm.
because even the premise is why he's in space is he put too much money into macaroons, like for a macaroon business. Someone told him like he's kind of I don't know even how to describe him. He's kind of like the type
Naive?
of person who's very naive, very naive. Just kind of believes what other people say. So like someone made some sort of offhand comment that like one day macaroons are going to be bigger than like I don't even know what they said, like cookies or something.
Avocados.
The avocado, like whatever. Yeah, it was like this is going to be the big thing. So he like invested all his money in macaroons and then lost all of it.
Mm.
So now he's out in space, and basically what you use expendables for is any job that's dangerous or the grunt work that you don't want to be using someone else. So, as an example, like they go through this kind of montage in the beginning to show you everything that's going on. One of the things that happens is they want to test the radiation of the sun on a human body, so they send an expendable to get radiated, and they see what kind of happens. Like that, they start dying of radiation, and they start kind of like marking it and what have you. And basically in this world, everyone's lost sympathy towards the death of expendables because the person never actually dies. They come back again, new body, and it's
Right.
technically the same person. So even though like the pain thing is almost forgotten about, because people just like, oh, you're going to come back anyway. Like, what's the big deal?
Mm.
And this movie really centers around Mickey 17 waking up next to Mickey 18 because they activated Mickey 18 accidentally. And that is very much illegal. The entire movie, basically, this happens pretty early on. The entire movie is basically Robert Pattinson trying to hide that there's two of him, and they're kind of in cahoots against everybody trying to like hide and not let anyone know that there's two of them. So it kind of goes off on that adventure from there, and it very much is a dark comedy. Like there's a lot of humor in here. Um, they spend a lot of time building a very interesting sci-fi world. I didn't look it up, but I do believe this is based on a book. I just didn't look up anything about the book. So I think they did a pretty good job of in a movie, shorter period of time to build up all this information and give you all this information. They did a really good job of like explaining what this world is like to be in this particular sci-fi universe and what it's like back on Earth and what this space, what they're doing in space and they're colonizing other planets and why that's happening. And they do a pretty good job of doing that, considering the fact that most of this movie is centered around basically trying to hide that there's two of this one person. Like this movie's pretty good. Like I wouldn't say it's like my favorite sci-fi film, and I think that there were moments where I'm like, okay, like let's get things going here. But
It's 2 hours, I think, right?
yeah, it feels a little longer. I gotta say, it feels a little longer. Now
Because
I'm
that's one of I was gonna watch it because I'm a huge Rob Pattinson fan, and then I saw that it was 2 hours, and I was like, I don't know. That seems
well,
I can't get
we'll
into that.
we'll come back to him in a second because he is, as expected, pretty brilliant in the movie. Um, the runtime it feels a lot longer, which is what is not great. Now, Taylor, I'll freely admit, I'm not in the mood. Okay, I'm not in the
Yeah.
mood. I'm not in the mood for new stuff. I'm not in the mood for longevity. Like, give me something tight and quick and
Give
fast
me
and like.
Fear Street Prom Queen, baby.
No,
We
I
should
mean,
have swapped movies this
we should
week.
have swapped movies. That's what we should have done. Movie swap. That we'll have to do that one week where we do like a movie swap. And I think that as much as the world building was really interesting and they did do a good job, and again, as I said, Robert Pattinson is really, really good, I think still this movie felt a little too overblown and a bit not quite as put together as I wanted it to be, and not quite as crisp or well moving as I wanted it to be. And it felt a little choppy, and it felt a little heavy, and it felt a little bloated, and I kind of wanted it to be a much smoother ride than it was. And I just feel like even though there were a lot of good things out of it, I do think there's a lot of people who wouldn't necessarily enjoy this. I think you have to be like heavy deep into sci-fi to really dive into this kind of thing. And I am, and yet I still think it just there's just so many other examples that I would go to first before kind of picking up this kind of movie again. So it did. I just don't think it left the lasting memory I wanted it to. despite the fact that the director is good, your lead star is good, playing multiple roles. He does a great job as expected. There's like a voice he's doing that I don't really understand why he's doing it. I just don't understand. It's just a choice that I don't really get, and it's kind of annoying and weird. It doesn't really sound like him. So
That's
it was a
very
little
Robert
odd.
Pattinson for him to be like, I'm just gonna do an accent in this
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
And
and
the director's like, okay, I guess.
I guess I guess that's what you're doing.
So he's
Um,
doing like an accent in this movie, and there doesn't really seem to be like a rhyme
it,
or reason to it.
it wouldn't. I mean, I guess it is an accent, but it's also like he's pitching his voice a little higher. Like he's. I think he's trying to sound less deep and grumbly and more like, you know,
Whimsical.
whimsical. Yeah, like I think whimsical is a good way to put it, because he is playing a character that's just sort of like, I don't know what I'm
Naive.
doing. I'm naive and I'm here. Like, and I think he's putting on this sort of like really higher pitched voice. And yeah, I guess you could say it works for the character. It's a little weird. But all in all, I'm gonna give Mickey 17 a stream it. I think it's still, got a lot of good in it. I think there's some people out there who will really enjoy this movie. It's a deep dive into science fiction. It's an interesting world. I was never bored by the world building moments and telling you kind of how Expendables came to be and how this all happened and what the rules around it are. So I think there's a lot of still good in it. It just didn't make that leap for me, that I wanted it. The way I always describe my ratings is get out of a 6 out of 10. Like how can you get out of that and jump into kind of the next category? And this didn't quite do it for me. So I'm going to give it a stream it.
So I saw Fear Street Prom Queen, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show. It's a sort of a one-off, I guess you could say, in the Fear Street universe. Mike, I have no idea how many books are in this series, but I can
Mm.
imagine they can just keep making these movies. Because they'll just be, imagine how many Goosebumps movies you could make, right?
Oh,
Um,
I mean, there's so many Goosebumps movies.
and interestingly, my coworker just watched Goosebumps 1 and 2 with Jack Black over the weekend.
Oh,
Completely unrelated. And I said, "Oh, did you watch the new one with the guy from Friends?" And she had no idea what I was talking about.
yes,
But
that's on Disney Plus now.
and apparently that's getting relatively good reviews. So maybe I should
I've
have
I've
watched
heard
that
good
instead.
things, actually. Yeah,
I should have
I
watched
should.
that.
I considered watching it. I've actually heard quite good things about it. So.
That's interesting. Oh, you gotta love the way streaming rates are. So, Fear Street's a Netflix property, but the Goosebumps are on Disney, and they're
Hmm.
both R.L. Stine. So that's an
Hmm.
interesting. However, the bidding worked for that. Also, Mike, just in terms of headlines, this is again a complete tangent. Did you see that? Um, I don't know exactly what happened, but essentially the funding to Sesame Street got cut. So they were like looking, I guess PBS wasn't able to produce it anymore, maybe because they're a public broadcaster and um Trump maybe cut their funding. I don't know, but essentially Sesame Street was homeless and then Netflix picked them up. What
Oh,
a which again is very interesting because Sim I thought that Disney would pick them up because they have all of the Muppet property, the Henson stuff. And I know that
yeah.
Sesame Street is not Jim Henson, maybe, but all of those puppets were Jim Henson puppets. So you would have thought, wouldn't Disney just be a natural place for Sesame Street to live?
You would think so.
Anyways, very interesting. I'm very uneducated in terms of the streaming wars, but I find it fascinating as an end user to be like, huh, that's an interesting.
Hmm.
I would have thought the more natural place would be Disney, but anyways, that's just a tangent. So I reviewed Mike. It was it last year. I reviewed all the Fear Street movies
Last year.
last year, and I remember not particularly liking them, but I was in too deep, and the way they released it was It was parts 1, 2, and 3, and I think there was a couple months in between each one, or maybe a month in between each one. So I, like, after watching the first one, I was like, well, I'm invested. I have to finish the trilogy. Does it make sense to only review the first one? So I don't remember loving it. I think I was like, oh, it's okay. It's fluff. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Um, I was kind of like you, Mike. I wasn't looking for anything like particularly heavy lifting for this week in terms of streaming. It's been, now the sun is out, but it literally rained in Loyalist for 3 days, for like the whole week, like 7 days straight. So I just wasn't really feeling anything particularly heavy lifting. So I thought, oh, this looks fine. And it's being pumped by Netflix. I think it was in the top 10 this past weekend. So I thought, okay, I'll give this a whirl. Why not? The premise is very cookie cutter. The quote unquote loser of the school is running against all of the popular girls to be prom queen, thinking, if I can just win prom queen, things will be different. And then there's also, weirdly, the drug dealer's also running, but she dies within like the first 15 minutes of the movie. So this is a slasher. And the first 3 were also slasher. There was definitely sort of a supernatural kind of occult vibe in the other, like the trilogy, I should say. This movie, by and large, aside from them referencing, oh, this town is cursed, this movie was definitely like a pure slasher. There wasn't really any occult stuff, unless you watch to the very, very, very end of the movie in the post-credit scenes, and then there's sort of a connection to the overall mythos. This is, Mike, does this ever happen to you where you're watching a movie or a TV show and the mythology of the show or movie is interesting? You're like, this media product is not that good, but I'm invested in the overarching mythology of this universe.
Yes, this absolutely has happened to me. Yeah,
That's how
100%.
I feel about Fear Street. Maybe I should just read the Wikipedia page, because that's often what I'll do if it's like a horror movie that I'm too afraid to watch, or I don't think I'll ever watch. Speaking of, this is the episode of just me listing off tangents, but I want to mention this before I forget. So, have you seen the trailer for, oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna have to do some really backwards engineering to get to the name of this movie. Okay, so first off,
recent trailer?
Yes. So, all right, I'm getting closer. Sally, because I'm like, she's in The Shape of Waters. Okay, Sally Hawkins, is in this movie. Oh my gosh, her Wikipedia page is so long. It's like, I just want to get to the actual. Oh, why aren't you showing me her Wikipedia isn't showing me her full filmography. Okay, so it's a Sally Hawkins movie. Nicole told me to watch this trailer a couple weeks ago now, and Mike, this movie looks absolutely terrifying, and I'm probably gonna have to review it, but I'm honestly so scared to watch it. This is the first movie in a really long time where I'm like, I don't want to watch this movie. Let me see. I can't believe I hate when Wikipedia does me dirty like that. Okay.
I mean, I certainly would be looking forward to a horror movie that actually seems.
Bring her back. And even, ooh, the poster's scary. Okay, so anyways, because this is a movie where like the mythology looks scarier. It's kind of like when I watched Longlegs. I liked Longlegs, but the mythology of Longlegs, I spent a lot of that review talking about the mythology of the movie and how like the promotion for it looked so good. And so this is one of those movies where like I feel like, sorry, going back to Fear Street, I feel like the interconnecting mythology of the universe is interesting enough that I keep watching these movies thinking like they're gonna be better than they are. They're just cheesy slasher flicks. There's not much there, So I don't recognize this cast whatsoever. To me, these are a bunch of I want to say no names, but that's kind of a mean way to put it. Early career actors. The only I recognized like the superintendent. I think she's a character actress, but I couldn't tell you her name, Mike, and I certainly did not recognize any of these young people, which makes me feel old because maybe these are famous people and they're just like teen actors. Don't
Mm.
know. The writing I felt was really cheesy and corny. I like camp and like I like I know the last couple of reviews I think I've come in really hot and hard on like cheesy, corny movies. I like as much cheese as the next person. But I just feel like I watch these movies sometimes, Mike, and I'm like, who is this being written for? Like,
Right.
teens are smarter than this. Adults are certainly smarter than this. It sounds like what an alien would think that how humans talk in the 80s. Like I don't know. The script writing was not very good. Um that being said, this movie is an hour and 30 minutes. It does have a slasher flick often, not always, has a little bit of a mystery to it, like who's the murderer, right? And so you are kind of trying to guess who the murderer is throughout this movie. And it takes place at the prom. So, all the major kills. One kill happens outside of the prom, but the rest of the kills happen within the prom setting. And the kills were like interesting if you like a slasher movie.
Mm-hmm.
And like you are guessing through the movie, like, okay, like who's the murderer? Is it this person? Oh, I thought it was this person. Then there's another clue. So that's enough to keep you sort of invested. A movie I reviewed, maybe not last year, maybe it was the year before, Totally Killer, where she travels back to the 80s and she has to find the murderer of her
Mm-hmm.
parents' friends. That to
Yeah.
me was a lot of fun. Like,
Yeah.
I thought it was well written. I thought it was funny where it was supposed to be funny. There's a little bit of a mystery element. So I know you can do these movies well. I just feel like this movie wasn't super strong. Like, I felt it was a little bit lazy. But to be fair, Mike, slasher flicks are not my genre. So
That's fair.
I
Yeah.
much prefer supernatural occultism in my horror movies. So I will acknowledge my biases.
Okay.
That being said, this is a light stream it
Mm.
because I think it's a movie you can put on with your friends, just kind of like cheese out and watch it. And it's not, I personally didn't find it scary, but I don't find slasher movies particularly scary, Mike. But I could be like, once you've
Yeah.
seen the killer,
Slashers.
you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Slasher films, not so much. So I agree with you on that one.
I think you could have fun. I don't think this movie has like jokes in the script the way that Totally Killer does. I like a good horror comedy, Mike. Like if I'm gonna watch a slasher flick, I want it to be a horror comedy. I want it to be as scary as it is funny. That's my
Yeah.
preference. This
Yeah.
movie is not a comedy. It is a straight slasher flick, leans heavily into the tropes. But again, it's a light stream it for me. It wasn't the worst movie I saw so far this year, but it certainly wasn't the best.
Not
Fear
not
Street,
not
Prom
glowing.
Queen.
Yeah,
Not
not a
glowing.
glowing
Kind of like,
recommendation.
it was fine. There was definitely, it got me talking about a lot of other things.
Well, that to me, that's not the mark of a good movie or show or whatever. Is if you're like, well, it made me miss this thing. It's like, well, that's not.
It made
I
me
don't
think
think that's its
about
purpose.
X, Y, Z,
Yeah.
the Mighty Ducks, and Sally Hawkins' new horror movie. But Mike, all kidding aside, look up the trailer for Bring Her Back. Ooh, baby, that looks scary.
I'm gonna definitely look that up because I would love a scary movie that's actually scary. Like I would be on board for that. I hope that's coming out in the fall.
I
Like
think
a
it
summer.
already has 91 on Rotten Tomatoes. It's
Mm,
coming out this weekend in Canada.
okay.
A brother and sister witness a terrifying ritual at the secluded home of their new foster mother. Boop, boop, boop. That sounds scary. Sally Hawkins plays the foster mother, if you didn't guess that.
Yes, I assumed so. Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. Well, I'll definitely keep my eyes open for that one. a horror movie or two in the summers is not too bad. I mean, that's fine. I just, from May to October, I'd love to see lots of horror movies, but it doesn't
I
always happen.
think you'll have to, if we watch this movie, we'll talk about it, Mike. I definitely feel like it would be more of a fall movie based on the fact that
Yeah.
it's like a secluded home. There's a ritual involved. So I think it's a bit of an odd place to dump it, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
That's that. It's got to come out sometime, right?
Agreed. It's got to go out eventually. Okay, well, before we wrap things up here, the other thing I wanted to quickly mention is in addition to obviously the summer movie season really kicking things off, and of course, we've had Katie Wilson come on for our big Oscars show with the winner. Well, we also gave a prize away to the last place Oscars.
Did he get 0 this year, like the girl last year, or did he at least have 1 point?
Oh no, he had a point. I mean,
Okay.
I think he got 3. Like I can't quite remember offhand, but I do think it was like 3. Like
because
it wasn't
our Barbie girl got 0.
0, that's hard. That's really even if you're trying, that's really hard.
She had to have accidentally cleared her ballot before she submitted. Like, just you'd think with what do you call that? Chance. Like what is that?
Law of probabilities?
Yeah, the law of probability. You'd think she would have got at least 1, but anyways. 3-pointer this year. Go on,
yes.
Mike.
So his name is Brandon, and he requested that we bring back Movies from a Hat. So that's going to be coming up soon, I think, Taylor. I think we've got to get Movies in a Hat going really soon. So I'm thinking we may even do the draw next week. Whether we do it the week after or not is kind of up to us. But I feel like we'll at least draw next week and then map things out. Just with the summer movie season, how busy it gets, I think it makes sense to at least do the draw next week. And then we'll know what the movie is and can kind of choose our week from there. I just wanted to remind people how this works, because I think it's been a long time. We did this on the other show. We've never done on this one. We basically had, I think this was a pandemic thing.
It must have been a pandemic. We ran out of movies to watch, so we asked people to write in movies for us to review.
And the idea is that we draw 2 movies randomly out of a hat.
Correct.
And we have to watch both the movies, and we have to figure out a way to connect them. Like, what's the through line connection?
That's credit to Tyler Vance and his wife, because they used to do that just for fun.
That's right. We refer to this as the Tyler Vance Memorial Movies from a Hat.
Correct.
So Tyler Vance can get some credit there. But essentially, that's what we do. So we had all these people submit it, and because I'm old school, I did put them out print them out on pieces of paper, and folded all the pieces of paper and shoved them in. Well, it wasn't a hat; it was more of
a toque.
Toque, or it was a toque, Canadian. So I would throw them out as we do them, but I still have a pile of them. And when I moved a couple times, I've kept this pile. They are tucked away in a drawer. So that pile will come out in the next week. I will get that ready, and we basically do the random draw, and we have to watch the movies.
Here's a question for you, Mike. I'm going to throw a monkey wrench into things. Because the toque, I should say, is you had me at Skip It. I don't think we don't throw the movies out. Keep the movies that are in the hat. But do we give people a week, our new listeners, to submit their movies to be added to the hat?
We absolutely do. We do that.
Okay.
How we're going to do that? Good questions. So there's a couple different ways you can get us movies. One, you can email us, still our email address, screeninginkingston@gmail.com. You can email us there with any suggestions that you have for Movies from a Hat. You can also go on the website sol1arts.ca. That's SOLONEARTS.ca. You can just find the podcast tab. You'll find our podcast there. You can literally just click on our podcast and submit through the form. That's totally fine as well. You can send us messages on social media, we will get them. We're not super active there, but we will get the messages over social media. So you can send those as well. And I'm going to do my best to put up a nice poll on Instagram that people can just submit some movies to. So you can even do that. You can even just chuck a bunch of movies on Instagram, type them in the little question thing, give us a bunch to think about, and we will take the next week to add everything to the hat and do the draw next week.
So what day do they have to submit by, Mike? The Monday night?
Yeah, we'll give you until June. Yeah, we'll give you until June 1st. Right? Okay. End of day June 1st. So make sure you get it in by end of day June 1st before you go to bed Sunday night. Submit a couple movies to us, and we'll include them in the hat.
And you might be the lucky listener to have your movie reviewed. Mike, before we go, I want to mention this before I forgot. So I think it was last episode, maybe the week before, I mentioned how I have a movie I really, really, really want to see this year, and I just keep forgetting about it. And then I see the poster and I think, okay, I really, really want to see that. I should bring it up on the show. And then I forget about it. I remember what movie it is, Mike.
Oh.
Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
So I found out this is a 2024 movie, but because we live in Canada, we're only getting it in Canada now, I think. Oh, it's one of those cases where it aired at TIFF in September. Anyways, drum roll. It's Friendship with Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd. Can you believe that I keep forgetting this movie?
Yeah, that's wild. Yes, of course, that's one I've definitely seen some previews for. Looks pretty cool.
And so it was released May 9th. So it's kind of making the indie circuit now. I'm probably going to wait until, I know I'm going to wait until it's on a rental. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'll give that one a review. But I'm dying to see that. Obviously, I'm a huge Tim Robinson fan from I Think You Should Leave, his sketch comedy show. And Paul Rudd's always a lot of fun. These are two actors I would not have paired in a movie, Mike. And so I am definitely looking forward to it. It was directed and written by Andrew DeYoung. Do you know that?
No,
no,
I don't. No, not familiar with his name. No.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen posters and stuff for it. I'm like, well, that's an interesting pairing. I want to see this.
Yeah. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to give you guys that review. We do have a lot of things coming up, Mike, a lot of special episodes planned, but we'll tease those as they come along.
We'll tease them, but for now, we'll give you a week to submit to Movies from a Hat. Any movie you want can go in there. Just fire it in there. We had a lot of weird combinations last time, so don't worry about thinking about you need to put in movies that all have to do with each other. We just make it work.
It's better. It's better if they don't have anything in common.
Most of them did not. But anyway, you've got until end of day June 1st. Please submit those through all the methods that I just mentioned. Feel free to contact us and reach out if there are any other questions. Otherwise, you'll hear from us next week.
Go see some movies.
Thank you for listening to You Had Me at Skip It, a Soul One Arts Inc. podcast. This podcast is produced by Mike Shepard and Austin Spinner Summer. It is a project of Soul One Arts Inc. To learn more about Soul One and all the great work that Soul One is doing in the arts community, especially in film, theater, and other performing arts, visit soul1arts.ca. You can contribute to this podcast by visiting soul1arts.ca and going to the podcast tab. You'll find all the information on You Had Me at Skip It and how you can get your questions read on air each week. Thank you again for listening.